I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
How's it going, and welcome to Flicking Things. My name is Daniel, and today I'm going to be reviewing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Okay, I gotta ask, I'm just curious, can an animated movie win Best Cinematography? Because, yeah, the cinematography in this movie is amazing. So going into the movie, yeah, I was really hyped. I'm a big fan of the first one, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I actually have it like in my 2 or 3 top Spider-Man movies of all time. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite one, but the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was second or third around there. So yeah, I was pretty hyped for this movie. As the early reviews were coming in, a lot of people were giving it high praise, and I was getting even more hyped and stuff. But then I had to step back, and I'm like, you know what, maybe I'm getting hyped too much, and like, you know, I'm getting my expectations way too high. But after seeing the movie, not only did it exceed my expectations, but it actually surpassed them. I mean, this movie was really good. You know, the art was amazing, the music, the soundtrack alone is just, it's top notch, and I love the soundtrack. Voice acting was amazing. And speaking of voice acting, I thought the big standout was Haley Steinfeld. I believe that's how you say her name. I thought her voice acting as Gwen was really amazing. And this is not too spoilish, but there's, in the opening sequence, it's about like 10 or 15 minutes, and it evolves around her. And I thought she did a really good, amazing job. Pretty much, you know, about her and her father and stuff. And I just thought that one portion of the movie was really fantastic, and how she portrayed, you know, the emotions that she's going through after the effects of, you know, Into the Spider-Verse, and then even the effects before that with her, Peter Parker, and they delved deep into that, and I really love that part. It's one of the better things in the movie, in my opinion. So yeah, like I said, it's about 10 to 15 minutes in the beginning of the movie, and I don't know if people are going to be mad about that because it's just like her. There's no Miles Morales in that one portion of the movie. And I don't know if like people might get mad about that, but it honestly serves a purpose into the overall themes of the movie going forward. And you'll see like later on, be like, okay, that it makes more sense. Understand why they took the time to show her backstory. Because honestly, the events that I'm referring to, if they didn't happen later on in the movie, then I feel like you could have cut down the beginning portion to like maybe like 5 minutes. But since it serves a really big purpose as far as the overall themes in this movie, but it makes sense. And that's why I think overall it makes a great sequence. Also, speaking of themes of this movie actually is very emotional. It has a lot of heart. And if you thought the first movie, you know, had a lot of emotion, this one I think takes it up even more to another notch. It really dives deep into the characters that we know and love, you know, Miles Morales, and like I just mentioned, Gwen Stacy, and not only that, her parents. I thought they did a really good job with their character arcs, and just like everyone in this movie, just like had an interesting backstory. You really feel and understand everyone's motives in this movie. You know, even the villain Spot, which was also a great character in my opinion. It's interesting because you just don't see that in Spider-Man movies. Most of the time, they just focus on Spider-Man and his life, and maybe a few other characters, but this one, like, actually all the main characters, they give them a pretty good story, and a pretty, and you understand, like I said, you understand their motives and why they're doing the things that they're doing. Just the emotion and just the touching moments is just the driving force of this movie. The art's amazing, and you know, everything that's flashing on screen, but it's not style over substance. It's a good balance of both, and I think that's why this movie, you know, works really well. Even the music, you know, just plays a purpose, you know, like the soundtrack, you notice certain themes with certain emotions that are going on screen. And speaking of emotions, like I love how, especially when you're in Gwen Stacy's world, universe, they have it pretty much looks like a painting. It looks like amazing. And whenever like her character is going through a certain emotion, and her dad, the background starts to change. Like there's moments where there's a lot of tension between her and her dad, and the painting starts getting a little darker and a little grimmer, but then there's moments of good chemistry, between the two, and that's when the animation gets a little bit brighter, and you can see it popping through the screen, their emotions, and that's another thing that I loved about this movie. And like I said, just deals with a lot of emotion, deals with loss, parenthood. I wouldn't say Miles Morales, this story is like not really coming of age. It's more like he's trying to balance his life, his normal life, his regular life, daily routines with his superhero life, and they do a really good job of exploring that. And not many people are talking about this, but it actually dives deep into parenthood. That's actually one of the big themes in this movie. Actually, you got Gwen Stacy's dad. He's trying to learn how to balance his life as being a cop and a father. And sometimes his cop instincts, comes first before being a father. And and I thought they did a really good job with that. And then also Miles Morales' parents, they're dealing with how to, parent their child, parent Miles, and also not only trying to parent him the right way, but also letting him just be a teenager, or letting him be a grown up, and, kind of just letting him go, because he's not, the little kid that they knew. So, and they're trying to figure out, what's the best decision for their kid, and also letting him be pretty much a kid, like, teenager, and also as he's entering that stage of adulthood. And it's really interesting to see, because the parents are kind of overbearing at times, and they're kind of holding him back. Like, their intentions are good, but they're just kind of like stepping over their boundaries. And I just loved how the filmmakers really took their time in building Miles Morales' parents. And it's not all about Miles Morales, but they also have a story arc too, and they did a really good job of exploring that. And me as a father, I could kind of relate. I mean, my kids are still small, but I always think to myself, I'm like, man, when my kids get older, especially my daughter, when she gets around 13 or 14, I'm gonna have to deal with her kind of coming into her own, and me not stepping over my boundaries, but also doing the right thing and the best decisions for her, to create a path for her to grow up into adulthood. I think that's why I really love how they portray the parents, because like I said, I can relate to the sense as far as I'm already thinking that, even though she's small, I'm already thinking that. I'm like, oh my, because there's going to be a time where I'm going to have to figure out a balance between, my kids growing up and, doing the right thing for them, making the best decisions for them, but also letting them grow into their own as they go into adulthood. So yeah, this movie just deals with, so many themes like that, and Miles coming into his own as far as, going into that next stage of adulthood. And it's just all these themes in this movie. And on the surface, they may look like, yeah, that's too much, or it wouldn't work out. They wouldn't be able to pull it off, but they did. I mean, even the villain himself, he's even trying to find his way in life, because, he's pretty much, just like this disfigured person now. And he's trying to figure out, okay, he has resentment towards Spider-Man, but he really doesn't know what to do. He's just kind of going through life. And his character is pretty interesting, because at the beginning of the movie, he's kind of like a goofball and just clumsy, and like I said, just going way through life, until he finally figures out hey, I could be much more a more powerful enemy. And that's when it kind of clicks, and it kind of takes a turn for the worse for Miles, at least. And he's like, I know what I'm capable of. And, he's finally going to get that, revenge towards Miles. And I thought his character was really great. Also, Oscar Isaac was also great as Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. Even his character had a great story arc. And I thought his character was great, and you understand where he's coming from. That's why it's interesting with this movie, because everyone has kind of their own motives, but you understand all of them. So it's yes, the protagonist is Miles, but all these characters are really fleshed out, and you understand where they're coming from. In a way, not everyone's wrong. Everyone, is trying to figure out this whole multiverse situation and doing the best thing for people, pretty much. And Oscar Isaac is just phenomenal. Just this whole movie is great. I really don't have any complaints, to be honest. I did see it twice in theaters. I will say this. Maybe the runtime might be a little bit shorter. When I first saw the movie, I thought the runtime was really good. But when I saw it the second time, since I knew what was going to happen, I thought you know, it might have been a little bit too long. So if you're seeing it for the first time, I don't think you would feel the runtime. I think it's just perfect. So yeah, I'm in like in a weird spot at how I feel about the runtime. Like I said, when I first saw it, I looked at my clock like towards the middle or like 2/3 of the movie, and I was like, oh man, we have another hour left. I was like, oh man, like, because like I said, 2/3 of the movie is like, it feel like it's like the third act almost. And I'm like, man, I don't know if this movie's gonna start dragging out and it's just gonna, you know, hit the mark at the end. But there's like a twist towards, like I said, the third act, and it gets really interesting. And at that point, I didn't want the movie to end. I was like, okay, like I'm all in, dude. Let's you know, let's see what happens here. And then the ending happened, and I've been seeing online a lot of people are not like too fond of the ending because it definitely does end on a cliffhanger. So another interesting, I was noticing that as like I guess a lot of people didn't know it was going to be a two-parter, which is weird because when they first announced the movie, they announced it as a two-parter. And I think even the very first teaser, they were even like, you know, this is part one. They had it in the title, but then they got rid of it later on. And I guess a lot of people didn't know it was going to be a two-parter. So I seen online like a lot of people were upset about that. So I don't know how you guys might feel about that, but I was okay with it. It does like it's a really big cliffhanger where like you're just like, oh man, like, you know, I want to see the rest of the story here. And so yeah, I don't know how you guys might feel about that. I don't know if you guys might just hate it because it's very abrupt, because it is very abrupt, because things are going down, like really about to go down, and it just leaves on a cliffhanger. So I was okay with it because I was expecting it. So I don't know how other people might feel about that. But I mean, like I said, I was okay with it. I never really give a movie like a perfect score. I don't think I ever did, but this one might be the first one. Like, it's honestly that good. Like, if you love the first one, you're definitely gonna like this one. If you don't love the first one, you didn't care for it too much, then you're probably not gonna like this one. But everyone that liked the first one or loved it, they're definitely going to love this one, because this one honestly takes it to a whole new level. It's just one of those movies that you just don't see nowadays. One, from the animation, which is like, it should win all the awards for best animation, just the stunning visuals. Even, like I said, the cinematography is just amazing. The music's great. It should win, honestly, that too. I mean, like, the soundtrack is amazing. Not just like the music. I'm not talking about like where it involves like, you know, actual artists. I'm talking about the actual score, and it has just like a little bit of everything. You know, it has like punk rock, it has, you know, a little bit of funk, it has like some hip hop, and even has some techno like vibes type of, like, you know, it kind of reminded me of you know, Tron Legacy, like that type of soundtrack at times, especially around like Miguel O'Hara's theme. And like I said, I just thought the soundtrack was great. Now, I do want to talk about Miles Morales a bit. I mean, I've been going on with like all the other things because this movie's, like I said, is just that good. Yeah, like his character arc is just like, you know, it's interesting to see his progression, you know, and it's just, they take the time, you know, to flesh out his character, you know, because everyone is kind of treating him like a kid, but at times his parents are holding him back, and even like his peers are kind of holding him back, you know, from taking that next step. And he even says in movies like, you know, stop calling me that, I'm not a kid. You know, he's trying to do what's best. And I never really saw that with any other Spider-Man movies. Not to say they're bad, because there's a lot of great Spider-Man movies, but just the fact that, you know, they really, really take their time to flesh out his character. And he's honestly going down as one of the best Spider-Mans in the whole Spider-Man trilogy of movies and stuff. And as far as movies go, this might be like the best Spider-Man movie. Not, like I said, not to say that the other ones are bad, because there's some great ones. And I'm not trying to like pit them against each other. I'm just saying, like, you know, as far as like just character arcs, I think Miles might be the best one. But I think we really got to appreciate, just as far as library of Spider-Man movies, where each trilogy is enjoyable, and they, like, every Spider-Man is different. And what I love, you could just pick any Spider-Man trilogy, you know, put it on the TV and enjoy for what they are. You know, if you want, you know, a really good Spider-Man, the one person who actually portrays Spider-Man, you know, I feel like you have Andrew Garfield, and who really portrays the best Peter Parker, I feel like it's Tobey Maguire. You know, whoever has a little bit of both, it's Tom Holland, you know, and stuff like that. So I think we're really lucky and spoiled to have this type of library as far as Spider-Man movies, where everyone's great in their own right and their own universe. And yeah, this is, I mean, it's pretty awesome to see this all unfold on the big screen. All right, so I'm gonna give this movie a rating, and yeah, I think you guys already know what I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 web slingers. Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's one of the best Spider-Man movies of all time. Not just Spider-Man movies, but just comic book movies of all time as well. And yeah, I really, really love this movie, and I can't wait for the third one. So anyways, that's gonna do it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys next one. See you.